Stopping negative self-talk is a powerful way to improve mental well-being, as the way we speak to ourselves has a direct impact on our emotional state, self-esteem, and overall mental health. Negative self-talk can create a cycle of distress, making us feel helpless, anxious, or inadequate. Fortunately, with intentional effort and a few strategies, you can break this cycle, foster self-compassion, and create a healthier mental environment. Here's a more in-depth look at how to stop negative self-talk and start cultivating a more positive mindset. 1. Recognize it. The first step in overcoming negative self-talk is recognizing when it occurs. It's easy to fall into a pattern of self-criticism without realizing it, but once you're aware, you can interrupt the cycle. Notice when you're being self-critical, anxious, or overly pessimistic. It may be helpful to take a moment during moments of stress to reflect on what you are thinking. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself right now? Is this thought helping me or hindering me? This awareness is key to breaking the pattern of negative thinking. Some signs of negative self-talk include all or nothing thinking, seeing situations in extremes, e.g., I always fail, or I'll never be good enough. Overgeneralization, making broad, sweeping conclusions from one instance, e.g., I made one mistake, so I'll never succeed. Personalization, taking responsibility for things that are outside of your control, e.g., it's my fault that things didn't go well. Catastrophizing, expecting the worst possible outcome, e.g., this is going to be a disaster. 2. Challenge the thoughts. Once you recognize negative self-talk, it's time to challenge its validity. Question whether these thoughts are based on facts or assumptions. Ask yourself, is this thought true? To determine if a thought is true, it's important to critically assess it and look for evidence both supporting and contradicting it. Here's how you can evaluate whether a thought is true. Steps to assess whether a thought is true. 1. Check for evidence. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have to support this thought? For example, if the thought is, I always fail, examine your past experiences. Are there times when you have succeeded or made progress? Also, ask, is there any evidence that contradicts this thought? Often, negative thoughts ignore or discount positive experiences. 2. Consider the source of the thought. Is the thought based on facts or assumptions? For example, a thought like, no one likes me, might be an assumption, whereas, I haven't received a text from a friend in a few days, is based on a specific observation. 3. Look for overgeneralizations. Many negative thoughts involve overgeneralization. For instance, thinking, I always mess up, is an overgeneralization, as no one, always, messes up. It might be more accurate to say, I made a mistake this time, but that doesn't mean I'll fail every time. 4. Ask if it's helpful. Even if the thought is true, is it helpful or productive? For example, if you think, I'm not good enough, even if it's based on a past mistake, it's important to challenge whether this thought is helpful for your personal growth. A more constructive thought might be, I made a mistake, but I can learn from it and improve. 5. Consider alternative explanations. Are there other possible explanations for the situation? If you think, I failed this test because I'm not smart, consider whether there were other factors involved, like not preparing enough or test anxiety, which don't define your intelligence or worth. This approach will help you reframe negative thoughts and move toward a more balanced, realistic view of yourself and situations. What evidence do I have to support this thought? 2. Evaluate the evidence supporting a specific thought. You can break it down into steps to help assess whether it's based on facts or assumptions. Here's how to approach this. 1. Identify the thought. First, clearly define the thought you're examining. For example, you might be thinking, I'm terrible at my job, or, no one cares about me. 2. Ask, what evidence do I have? Look for tangible evidence to support the thought. Are there specific situations or actions that make you believe it's true? For example, if the thought is, I'm terrible at my job, you could ask yourself, Have I received feedback from my boss or colleagues? What specific incidents make me think this? If the thought is, no one cares about me, think about recent interactions. Did friends or family show care in any way, even if it was subtle? 3. Look for patterns of evidence. Are there recurring situations or events that consistently support the thought? For example, if you think, I always fail, try to pinpoint actual instances where you didn't fail. You may find that you succeed more often than you think. If you're thinking, I'm not good enough, check whether you've ever accomplished something you felt proud of or received positive recognition. 4. Weigh the evidence. Consider the evidence from both sides. Sometimes, negative thoughts are based on isolated incidents that don't represent the full picture. For example, if you've faced setbacks or challenges, they don't necessarily mean you're terrible at your job or not good enough. One difficult moment doesn't define you as a person or your abilities. If you've had some people show care, even if not as often as you would like, it's important to acknowledge those positive interactions as part of the evidence. 5. Consider external factors. Think about whether external circumstances are influencing your perception. Stress, lack of sleep, or emotional exhaustion can sometimes make negative thoughts feel more intense or all-encompassing than they actually are. By examining the evidence for and against a thought, you can begin to see if it is based on facts or influenced by emotional states or distorted thinking. This will help you gain a more balanced perspective. Would I say this to a friend or loved one? Asking yourself whether you would say a particular thought to a friend or loved one is an important way to assess whether it's kind, fair, and constructive. We tend to be more compassionate and understanding toward others, so this question helps you recognize if you're being overly critical or harsh toward yourself. Here's how to approach it. 1. Put yourself in a friend's shoes. Imagine a close friend or family member is going through a similar situation to the one you're facing. For example, if you're thinking, I'm such a failure, imagine a friend came to you saying the same thing. 2. Offer compassion. When a loved one is struggling, we often try to comfort them with kind, reassuring words. We might say, everyone makes mistakes, or, you're doing your best, and that's enough. If you wouldn't say something harsh like, you're terrible, or, you'll never succeed, then why should you say that to yourself? Treat yourself with the same compassion. 3. Use gentle language. We tend to be kinder and more forgiving with others. If your thought is something like, I'm so stupid, consider whether you'd call your best friend stupid if they made a mistake. Instead, you might say, it's okay to make mistakes, what matters is that you're learning. Try applying the same mindset to yourself. 4. Challenge self-criticism. If you find that you would never say something as harsh to a friend, it's a strong indication that your self-talk might be too critical. Imagine how your friend might feel if they heard such words and think about how you would help them reframe their perspective. Self-compassion often involves catching yourself when you're about to speak negatively to yourself and replacing that with the kind of words you would offer a loved one. 5. Reframe the thought. Once you've recognized that you wouldn't speak to a friend the way you're speaking to yourself, try reframing the thought. For example, thought, I'm terrible at this. Reframe, I may not be perfect, but I am capable of learning and improving, just like anyone else. By asking yourself if you'd say a thought to someone you care about, you encourage a more nurturing and realistic self-dialogue. This helps counter the negative, harsh self-talk that can erode self-esteem and promotes a kinder, more supportive mindset. Is there another way of looking at the situation? Yes, there are often multiple ways of looking at any given situation. Exploring alternative perspectives can help you break free from negative thinking patterns and open the door to more constructive, balanced views. Here's how you can approach looking at a situation from different angles. 1. Consider the bigger picture. Sometimes, we can get stuck focusing on one small aspect of a situation and forget to look at the broader context. Ask yourself, what else is going on in my life right now that could influence my perception of this situation? For example, if you're thinking, I failed at this task, so I'm a failure, you could look at how this task fits into the broader context of your life. One failure doesn't define you, it's simply a part of your growth process. 2. Look for learning opportunities. A failure or setback doesn't have to be seen as a negative experience. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? How can it help me grow or improve? Instead of thinking, I messed up, you might reframe it as, I encountered a challenge, but I've learned something new that will help me next time. 3. Focus on strengths. Sometimes, we become so focused on what went wrong that we forget to acknowledge what went right. Ask, what strengths or positive qualities did I show during this situation? For instance, if you faced a difficult project at work, instead of thinking, I couldn't finish on time, you might reframe it to, I worked hard and learned a lot along the way, even though the outcome wasn't perfect. 4. Consider other people's perspectives. It's helpful to step outside of your own viewpoint and consider how someone else might interpret the situation. Ask, how would a friend or loved one view this situation? Sometimes, others can see things more objectively or in a more positive light, and they can remind you of strengths or achievements you might have overlooked. 5. Challenge assumptions. Often, our negative thoughts are based on assumptions rather than facts. For example, you might think, if I don't get this promotion, I'll never be successful. But this is an assumption, not a fact. Ask yourself, is this assumption really true? What evidence do I have to support it? By challenging assumptions, you may discover that your thinking is based on worst-case scenarios rather than on objective reality. 6. Ask, what's the worst, best, and most likely outcome? Sometimes we get trapped in catastrophic thinking. Try to counter this by considering the range of possible outcomes. What's the worst-case scenario? What's the best-case scenario? And what's the most likely outcome? This helps to prevent your mind from dwelling solely on the worst possibilities and encourages a more balanced, realistic view. 7. Reframe with gratitude. Shifting your focus to gratitude can help you see things from a different, more positive perspective. Ask yourself, what's something I'm grateful for in this situation? Even when things don't go according to plan, there is often something to appreciate, whether it's the lessons learned, the support you've received from others, or the progress you've made so far. 8. Practice self-compassion. Instead of seeing a difficult situation as a failure, you could approach it with kindness and understanding. Ask, how can I treat myself with the same compassion that I would offer a friend in this situation? This can help you avoid being overly critical of yourself and see the situation as an opportunity for growth rather than a permanent setback. By considering alternative perspectives, you can shift from a negative, limited view to a more empowering, balanced one. This approach helps you reduce stress and anxiety while fostering resilience and a more positive outlook. Often, negative self-talk is rooted in distorted thinking, such as exaggerating mistakes or focusing only on failures. By examining these thoughts and comparing them with reality, you can start to see them for what they are, unfounded fears or exaggerated worries, rather than facts. For example, if you think, I'm terrible at everything, challenge yourself to list things you're good at or things you've done successfully in the past. 3. Replace with positive or neutral thoughts. After challenging your negative thoughts, the next step is replacing them with more positive, neutral, or balanced perspectives. Instead of staying in the mindset of self-blame or doom, try reframing your thinking. For instance, negative, I'm terrible at this. Balanced, I'm learning, and I may not be perfect yet, but I can improve with practice. It's important to aim for thoughts that are realistic, not overly idealistic. Positive affirmations can help, but they should be grounded in truth. Replace thoughts that undermine your confidence with those that encourage growth, understanding, and acceptance of yourself as a work in progress. 4. Practice self-compassion. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. It is the antidote to harsh self-criticism. When you make a mistake or face a challenge, remind yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. Rather than chastising yourself, offer encouragement and care. Understand that everyone makes mistakes, it's a natural part of being human. By practicing self-compassion, you learn to view yourself with greater empathy, fostering a healthier, more positive relationship with yourself. Ways to practice self-compassion. Speak to yourself kindly, as you would to someone you care about. Acknowledge that setbacks are opportunities for growth, not proof of inadequacy. Treat yourself with gentleness, especially during tough times. 5. Use affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that you repeat to yourself in order to reinforce a healthy mindset. These affirmations help reprogram your brain, challenging ingrained patterns of negative thinking and replacing them with empowering beliefs. Examples of affirmations. I am capable of overcoming challenges. I am worthy of love and respect. I am doing the best I can, and that is enough. I am resilient and can handle whatever comes my way. Start with small, achievable affirmations that feel authentic and relevant to your situation. Over time, these affirmations can help shift your internal dialogue from negativity to encouragement. 6. Mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness and meditation are powerful tools for breaking the cycle of negative self-talk. Mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment, without judgment. This practice can help you observe your thoughts without getting caught up in them. Over time, it teaches you to notice when negative self-talk arises, without reacting to it emotionally. Meditation helps. You build mental resilience by allowing you to focus on your breath, body, or a particular mantra, helping you to detach from negative thoughts. As you continue practicing mindfulness and meditation, you will develop the ability to let go of negative thoughts without allowing them to control you. How to practice mindfulness. Focus on your breath and gently guide your thoughts back to the present moment whenever they wander. Use guided meditations or mindfulness apps to help you stay on track. Practice mindfulness during everyday activities, like eating or walking, to strengthen your ability to stay in the present. 7. Seek support. Sometimes, negative self-talk is deeply rooted in past experiences, trauma, or ingrained beliefs. In such cases, professional support from a therapist or counselor can be incredibly helpful. Therapy provides a safe space to explore underlying emotional issues that may contribute to negative self-talk. A mental health professional can teach you tools to reframe your thinking, challenge distorted beliefs, and build emotional resilience. Talking to someone you trust can also be an effective way to share your thoughts and gain a different perspective. Often, expressing your feelings out loud helps you realize how unrealistic or harsh they may be. Seek support when needed, whether from a friend, family member, or therapist. Stopping negative self-talk is not an overnight process, but with consistent practice and a commitment to changing how you think about yourself, you can break free from the cycle of self-criticism. By recognizing, challenging, and reframing negative thoughts, practicing self-compassion, using affirmations, incorporating mindfulness, and seeking professional support when necessary, you can build a healthier and more empowering internal dialogue. Remember, it takes time, but the effort is worth it for your mental well-being and overall happiness.